You have exactly 7 seconds. That's how long a leader has before their team starts reading their face, understanding that they're hesitating, seeing that doubt and fear. Now, here's what the research says. A global study by HSBC and University College London found that nearly half of business leaders say decisions made alone usually turn out poorly. And more than a third admit the smallest doubt can stop them from acting. That's not a character flaw. That's neurology. Today, we're building a decision-making system backed by MIT, Wharton, Stanford, and 17,000 real participants. And it all starts now on this episode of Engage and Inspire. Welcome back, leaders. Welcome to another episode of Engage and Inspire. I am your host, Scott Liles. Now, today we're living in what former Bank of England Governor Mervyn King and economist John Kay call an era of radical uncertainty. Past patterns no longer predict the future. That changes everything about how leaders decide. So today we're going to cover 4 things. First, the neuroscience of uncertainty from UCL research. Second, new IBM data on how CEOs are using AI to make decisions, which me personally isn't always a good thing. Third, the return on character, which is a 10-year study from KRW International. And then fourth, 3 frameworks that you can use tomorrow from schools like Wharton and Stanford. So let's start with your brain. Now, why is uncertainty so painful? Let me introduce you to Professor David Tuckett. He directs the Center for Study of Decision-Making Uncertainty at University College London and is also a fellow of the Institute of Psychoanalysis. Now, in an article for MIT Sloan Management Review, Tuckett explains something fascinating. Uncertainty triggers what he calls ambivalence. And here's what that means. 2 powerful neurological responses fire at the same time. The first is approach emotions. So this is your excitement, the opportunity, hope. The second is avoidance emotions. So this is your doubt, your anxiety, your fear. And they collide inside your head. And because that collision is physically painful, your brain wants to escape immediately. So what do? You rush. You grab an opportunity too fast, or you abandon it too soon. This isn't a weakness. This is biology. But knowing it exists, that's the first step to overriding it. All right, now I'm going to throw a bunch of data at you here real quick. Tuckett collaborated with HSBC on a landmark study called Seizing Uncertainty. Now here's the methodology. They recruited 17,555 individuals across 12 markets. That included more than 3,000 business leaders, from small business owners to multinational executives. Here's what they found. Here's where all the numbers come in. 90% of people feel we're living through an era of rapid change. 68% think it's harder to plan for the future than it used to be. 45% of business leaders say decisions made alone usually turn out poorly. I mean, that's almost half of the business leaders out there. 50% feel regret over missed opportunities. More than 2/3 wish they felt more capable of tackling decisions head on. And about 1/3 say the smallest doubt can stop them in their tracks. And then 64% of business leaders said they wish they had more support when making decisions. Now I'm going to read that one again. 64% of business leaders said they wish they had more support when making decisions. That's nearly 2/3 of the leaders out there feel alone in a storm. They're convinced that everyone else has a clearer forecast, but they don't. The research shows that 45% of solo decisions fail, and that's why having a framework matters. Now let's talk about AI. In May 2026, the IBM Institute for Business Value released a global CEO study. They partnered with Oxford economists and surveyed 2,000 CEOs across 33 countries and 21 industries. Now, here's what they found. On AI leadership, 76% of organizations now have a chief AI officer, and that's up from just 26% in 2025. Organizations with an AI first C suite have scaled 10% more AI initiatives than their peers. Now, on trust in AI, 64% of CEOs say they are comfortable making major strategic decisions based on AI generated input. Major means M&As, market entry, workforce reductions, and new product lines. On governance, 83% agree that AI sovereignty is essential to business strategy. By 2030, CEOs expect 48% of codifiable operational decisions to be made by AI without human intervention. Today, that number is 25%. And 79% are decentralizing decision making as AI becomes more embedded. Now, here's the problem. Only 25% of employees are using AI regularly in their jobs. But 86% of CEOs believe their workforce has the skill to collaborate with AI. There's a massive gap between CEO confidence and employee adoption. If you make decisions based on AI, your team doesn't understand. They won't execute it. You have to translate the black box. Okay, let's take a quick break to recommend something that my wife absolutely loves. She spent years in boring, ill-fitting activewear that made her feel fine. Not great, just fine. Then she found Wear Playground at wearplayground.com, and her whole confidence shifted. Playground makes luxurious activewear for women. Bold prints, sustainable fabrics, limited edition collections designed in New York City and made in LA. My wife says it actually fits, breathes, and looks beautiful, whether she's at the gym or running errands and grabbing a cup of coffee. Google reviewers agree, with one reviewer saying, "Finally, activewear that makes me feel unstoppable." So if you're tired of bland workout gear, or if you're a guy wanting to get something great for the woman in your life, head to wearplayground.com. I got you 20% off any product, exclusive to my listeners. So use my promo code HELM, that's HELM, at checkout. So full disclosure, I do earn a commission on this when you use the code, but that supports the show. And honestly, I only recommend what actually works in my own home. So check them out at wearplayground.com. Now I'm going to throw some more numbers at you. Let's talk about something most frameworks ignore, and that's character. KRW International conducted a 10-year-long study. They followed over 100 CEOs across manufacturing, finance, healthcare, and technology. Now here's how they did it. They rated each CEO on 4 character habits. The first character habit was integrity. That's keeping your word and ethical behavior. 2, responsibility. Owning your actions and your consequences. The third was forgiveness. That's letting go of past wrongs. And 4th, compassion. Demonstrating care, genuine care for others. Then they tracked corporate financial performance over a full decade. Now here's the results. CEOs in the top 20% for character delivered a 9.35% return on assets over 2 years. CEOs in the bottom 20% delivered just 1.93%. That's nearly a 5-fold increase. Now, let me put that in dollars. A high character CEO running a billion-dollar company generates roughly $740 million more in cumulative returns over a decade than a low character peer. But wait, there's more. Senior teams with strong character reputation average 26% higher employee engagement. And here's the kicker. For nearly 7 out of 10 senior leaders, there is a significant gap between their intent and their reputation. They think they're acting with character, but their teams don't see it. Character is not soft. In an era of scrutiny, a reputation for fairness is a competitive advantage that compounds. And if you think you're a high character leader, check your reputation gap, because 70% of your peers have one that they don't see. Now let's apply all of this. Here are 3 frameworks from UCL, Stanford, and synthesized from research. Now you can start using them tomorrow or even today. So framework 1 is the Pre-Mortem. Okay, this comes from Professor David Tuckett at UCL, writing in the MIT Sloan Management Review. The problem is that ambivalence makes you rush. The solution is simple. Before any major decision, gather your team and ask this one simple question. It's 18 months from now. Our decision has failed completely. Why? Then you write down every reason. Why does this work? It gives your avoidance system permission to speak without shame. You aren't being pessimistic. You are being neurologically strategic. The goal is to slow down the rush to action, because the rush is where decisions die. Now, framework 2 is the voice, vote, veto. Now, this comes from Stanford professor Amin Sabiri in conversation with Novo Ed's Fernaz Ranagi. The problem is that the HSBC study found that 45% of solo decisions fail. Consensus takes too long, and dictatorship loses buy-in. The solution is a 3-step system. So step 1 is you voice. Everyone relevant gets a say anonymously, and you use a digital board to kill bias. Now, step 2 is vote. The core team only votes on it. Not consensus, just a vote. And then step 3 is veto. One person owns the final call, and that one person is you. The key rule is that once the decision is made, everyone stands behind it silently. No sabotage, no I told you so, nothing. Why does this work? It balances speed and buy-in. The HSBC study found that delaying decisions can be more disastrous than making wrong ones, but so can making unilateral wrong ones. This framework fixes both. Now, framework 3 is the 3-path test. Now, I've synthesized this from everything we've covered in this episode. So before any major decision, run 3 paths. Path 1 is the logic path. You ask yourself, what does the data say? Not what you feel. What does the data actually say? Remember, 64% of CEOs trust AI data, but only 25% of employees use it. Verify your source. Path 2 is the emotional path. So you ask yourself, how will this land in the cafeteria? Not in the boardroom. The HSBC study found that over 66% of leaders wish they had more decision support. So don't go solo. Ask how people will feel. Now, path 3 is the legacy path. Ask yourself, would I be proud of this one on the front page of the newspaper? The KRW study proved that high character leaders deliver 5 times higher ROA. Integrity isn't a constraint, it is a strategy. So here's the rule: if you can answer all 3 paths clearly, you move. If you can't, you pause. But a pause is a decision as well. Now, let me bring this home. We're living in a radical uncertainty. The HSBC study of 17,555 people showed that 90% of us feel the pace of change accelerating, and 68% find it harder to plan for the future. So your brain is wired to rush when it feels ambivalent. That's biology. Your CEO is likely comfortable using AI to decide. 64% of them, according to IBM, but only 25% of your workforce is actually using it. That's a trust gap. If you don't have a bridge, build it. And through all of this, your character matters. The KRW International's 10-year study proved that. It proved that high character leads to higher ROA. Integrity, responsibility, forgiveness, compassion. These aren't nice to haves. They are performance multipliers, people. Now, here's your homework for this week. First, run a pre-mortem on your next big decision. Second, map your data flows. Does your team actually trust what you're seeing? And 3, apply the 3-path test, the logic, emotion, and legacy. If you want to go deeper, send me a message at scott@leadwithhelm.com and I'll get you the decision log template for free. It's a simple tracking sheet that forces you to log your assumptions before you know the outcome. That's the best way to train your judgment muscle. The days of the oracle leader, the one who just feels the answer in their gut, are coming to an end. The data is clear. 45% of solo decisions fail. The AI sees patterns that you miss. Your employees see the hypocrisy you ignore. But the machine can't inspire loyalty, and the spreadsheet can't show compassion. That's your job. Now, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. And remember, follow us on TikTok. Our handle is engage.inspire. Connect with us on LinkedIn at Helm Leadership Group. If you have questions, shoot me an email at scott@leadwithhelm.com. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Share it with a family member, a friend, a colleague. And remember, until next time, keep engaging and keep inspiring. Take care.